The African Queen is a 1951 classic. It was directed by John Huston. It stars Humphrey Bogart and Kathryn Hepburn. And I think it's a great film. I've seen it quite a few times, and I just wanted to give a quick review and some thoughts about this movie because I think it's a lot of fun. I've actually seen it, and every time I watch it, I think, man, they look so uncomfortable in this film, especially Humphrey Bogart. I mean, he just looks haggard and sweaty, maybe a little half drunk, and you can't help but sense that there's this visceral smell of smoke and alcohol and filth just emanating from him during this film. And it's actually to great effect. It's that gritty realism that really makes this film work so well. So again, it's a 1951 film. It's the basic story idea is that Kathryn Hepburn and her brother, they are, I think it's Methodist missionaries, and they're working with an African tribe in Africa off of this river. And Humphrey Bogart, he's captain of this steamship that stops in from time to time with supplies and mail and so on. And he's always just sort of haggard and disheveled and drunken, and his stomach is gurgling, and he just seems like a total disreputable character. And it's awesome. It works so well in this film. Well, the film is based, or I think it's around World War I, and German soldiers show up at some point and they burn down the village. It really impacts Kathryn Hepburn's brother, who's the pastor. He starts to get sick and eventually dies. So Bogart shows up a little bit later. They have a burial and a funeral, and he basically takes Kathryn Hepburn away from this village before the Germans show up again, and they start heading downstream. As these events take place, she comes up with this idea of taking some gel explosives that they have on board the boat. I don't remember exactly why. It was part of the story, and I'm forgetting it. But she gets the idea to use these explosives to try to take out a German gunboat that's further down the river. So that's kind of the plot that we establish. And then as the two kind of make their way down the river, there's a relationship that builds between the two of them. And, you know, I mentioned how Humphrey Bogart looks so disheveled and sickish. Kathryn Hepburn doesn't look so good either. I mean, she looks, I think I read somewhere that the actress actually had malaria during some of the filming. And boy, you can really see that in how they look. Both of them just look like this was a rough filming shoot. And it's just to great effect. So the two of them, they build this relationship as they go down the river. They go through nasty weather. They go through dry sockets of the river. They go through a scene with leeches, which, you know, for a 1951 film, it was still creepy and convincing that old Humphrey Bogart had these leeches all over his body, and it was just flat out disgusting. So, like I mentioned, it's a realistic film. You do actually feel like you're part of this actual boat ride going down. There are some parts where clearly it's some stock footage put into the background, and that's okay. You know, the film is convincing enough that you can deal with some of the stock footage stuff. And I won't say much more about what happens when they actually get to the base of the river and they encounter the gunboat. I'll let you guys see it if you haven't seen it already, but I think the way the film resolves itself is really neat. The relationship the two characters have is very genuine and convincing. You really care about, you know, their story, and it's just a fun film worth checking out. I think I read somewhere too that they based the Disney World Jungle Cruise ride on this film, although they did it without the swarms of biting flies and leeches and stuff like that. But you can actually see kind of some parallels of the steamboat that's used in this film and the boat that you ride in at Walt Disney World. And, you know, truth be told, I'd probably rather ride the Disney version than this one, because as you watch the film, you see they went through a lot of rough stuff, going down rapids and being people shooting at them from, you know, mountaintops and stuff. So it's a great film. It really kind of holds your attention all the way through, and it's really neat to see how everything plays out at the end of the film. So that's The African Queen. It's a great film and worth checking out.